From King 5 News in Seattle, this is the Priced Out Podcast. I'm Ryan Takeo. We've heard from a lot of you about your stories about our Priced Out series that aired on TV.
Thank you for these stories.
I recently moved back to Western Washington after residing in Vermont for the past 5 years.
I have raised my family here and have grown to love it.
You'll hear these viewers' stories in their own words. This is Priced Out. Personal stories of those struggling to stay put in our hot housing market.
Surviving in Seattle it's just day by day.
In the past 5 years, the average cost of living index has gone up 19% across the country, but in Seattle, it's almost triple that, up 55%.
I can't afford to stay.
In 5 years, home values have gone up 88%, rent has climbed 42%, and the median property tax bill in Seattle has gone up 56%. Those are the numbers. We'll tell you the stories.
Sometimes we'll go to the food bank if we need to, and it still may become untenable, to live here because of the cost of living and continually going up and my wage staying at a pretty steady plateau.
The personal tales of those stuck in the middle, those feeling priced out.
It concerns me for the future if I stay here.
We could tell your story. Email us, pricedout@king5.com. And we might tell your story of you being priced out. We've heard from many of you about how the increased cost of living has impacted you. The Priced Out stories Amanda Grace put together struck a nerve, and you wanted to add another voice. We'll bring you more of these stories in the weeks ahead, but here are some voicemails. These are viewers who sent us emails to pricedout@king5.com, and then I asked them to record what they first emailed us. These have been lightly edited for clarity. Here they are in their own words.
Hey Ryan, this is Denise. I'm going to try to read the email, and I hope this works okay. If not, let me know. My first email, it says, "Thank you for these stories. I am also a native, and I feel very lonely. It is so nice to hear I'm not alone. Pre-Microsoft Redmond were my stomping grounds as a kid. Seattle was my stomping grounds when we all got cars and discovered music. All of my childhood memories are pretty much ripped up and built anew. My family has been here 4 generations. Our great-grandfather is a Civil War vet buried by his other servicemen in this tiny Civil War cemetery in Seattle, and I'm the last holdout in my family. Everyone else has died or already moved on. Being disabled and orphaned as a child means I am on my own, and I'm always 1 minute away from being homeless. My rent went up again, and it was already 9/10 of my income. People ask why I've stayed so long. First, I say this is my home. Second, all of my medical treatments were done at Children's and the UW. Leaving would mean leaving them. As I write this, I am packing. A friend has offered his mother-in-law basement until I can find a new city to call home. Even writing that makes me tear up. Thank you for all your stories. Please don't forget us when we're all gone. Seattle has a great history. Thank you." I hope that sounded okay. I wrote back after I heard your guys' podcast, and I said, "Thank you so much for the kind words," because Amanda had wrote back to me. "I just discovered your podcast and listened to all 3 episodes right away. The 3rd episode was so awesome. Hearing about the struggling musicians breaks my heart. My cousin Ian Fisher was the lead singer of the early 1980s Seattle band The Cowboys. I watched how hard they struggled then, and I can't even imagine how difficult it is now. And the artists, wow, please keep them coming. My story is pretty boring, but if you have an interest in how the disabled are struggling, I have a little knowledge I could share. Good luck to you, and please keep the stories coming. If you have any more questions, you have my number, and I hope to talk to you soon. Okay, take care. Bye-bye."
Hi, Ryan. This is Terry Arnold. I recently moved back to Western Washington after residing in Vermont for the past 5 years. Lured by a well-paying job working for the city of Edmonds and the chance to return to my roots, I arrived on March 3rd. Once I accepted the job offer to become the Deputy Director for the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services Department for the City of Edmonds at a salary of $105,000 per year, I was overjoyed. Then I began to seek rental housing. The joy turned to shock, then panic. After an accelerated and frenetic search for housing, the place I found and secured required a hefty sum in the first and last month's rent, a security deposit, and pet deposits for my dog, totaling nearly $6,500. Each month I paid $2,290 for rent, and I was required to sign a one-year lease. This is a small house with 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a basement with a clothes washer and dryer, and an unsuitable attic, a storage shed, and a fenced backyard with a small deck. It is located in the Ridgecrest neighborhood of Shoreline, a typical neighborhood of single-family homes. A house across the street recently sold for $588,000. I own a home in Middlebury, Vermont, which is on the sales market for $239,000. That home is twice the size and less than half the monthly cost in mortgage payments per month compared to this rental. With only 6 years before retirement, I simply cannot purchase a home due to the lack of a sizable down payment or the ability to make a monthly mortgage based on my projected retirement income. Adding insult to injury, I bit the poison apple in 2008 and allowed myself to get suckered into financing 2 mortgages on Whidbey Island to the tune of $530,000 on a salary of, at that time, $42,000. I eventually had to short sale both those homes in order to avoid making bankruptcy a reality. I am completely and utterly sickened over experiencing 2 housing crises in 1 decade. Between 2008 and 2018, the housing pendulum has swung from one side of the clock to the other.
Hi, Ryan. This is Wendy LaPrade, and I'm responding to the email that you sent me earlier. So, strange enough, I haven't deleted that email that I had sent to King 5, so I have it, and I will read it back to you now. My name is Wendy LaPrade, and I live in Mount Vernon, Washington. I am a displaced San Diegan. My family first moved to San Diego when my grandmother was a child in 1908. In 1976, as a newlywed, I watched the real estate market explode. I had a sick feeling that my family would never experience the American dream of home ownership. We struggled as rents became higher and higher. Finally, in 1984, we packed up what little we had and moved to Washington. I left behind family, friends, all that was familiar, and my identity of a native San Diegan. I have raised my family here and have grown to love it. When asked if I would ever go back to San Diego, I say no. The town that I grew up in no longer exists. My 3 daughters are now grown and are faced with trying to survive with real estate prices here in the Northwest. My youngest daughter, who is a new mom, is sharing a house with another family so that she can stay home with her baby. My biggest fear is that my daughters may have to make the same decision that I did. That is, to leave their home and family and all that is familiar because they can no longer afford to live here. The current situation with housing here makes me profoundly sad. I grieve for those who have to struggle with it. My name is Wendy LaPrade, and I live in Mount Vernon, Washington. So, Ryan, let me know if there's anything else you would like from me, and let me know if you use it. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you to Denise, Terry, and Wendy for sharing their thoughts. Remember, we could tell your story. Just email us, pricedout@king5.com. The Priced Out Podcast is a production of King 5 Media in Seattle, Washington. I'm Ryan Takeo. This is Priced Out.